Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's an All You Can Geek spoiler cast for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, viewers. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gast, joined by Mike Sneedy.
What's up?
Corey Feinsad.
The wind goes wherever I go.
and Tony Korkodakis.
It always fits, eventually.
Welcome, listeners. Welcome, viewers, again, to the spoiler cast for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Sony's surprise fun movie this year, I think. This is going to be spoilers aplenty, so because we're not going to hold back if we have something to talk about for it. We're going to dissect it and go over what we liked, what we loved, what we hated about the movie that was very, again, super surprising for me this year. Very happy that it was as good as it was.
Spoiler for coming up episode, Jim?
Might be. See, you're getting a little spoiler in the spoiler cast, maybe. But from this point on, seriously, if you haven't seen this yet, you might not. I would don't listen to this and go see it, and then come back and listen because it's worth seeing in the theaters. If you're any sort of superhero fan, you owe it yourself to go see this movie. Yeah. So that's it. Here we go. All right. So guys, Peter Parker dies.
Yeah, that's one. Thank you. That's what I wanted to get at first.
Yeah, let's just get it.
I forget who probably Corey. I think I talked to you about this. But I loved how because I didn't seek out every trailer, but I mean I had a general premise, and I loved how they subverted your expectations right in the beginning. Because you're like, oh, this first Spider-Man, it's like, oh, there's another one. Like I thought I was the only one. I could teach you. I could train you. This, that, the other thing. And then he dies, and then it's like, what? And then it's like, oh, you get deadbeat Peter Parker, who's given up on life and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh shit.
Which, by the way, that's now been confirmed. That is the Amazing Spider-Man Peter Parker from the one universe we're used to seeing. It's just future.
Well, yeah, no, it's our Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's our Peter Parker.
616, baby.
Yeah. So that's the one we get the deadbeat, worn out
Peter Parker,
run down, overweight Peter Parker who's had just a terrible life towards the end here, and I just thought I at first in this movie, just starting off from the beginning, besides the death, obviously, Peter Parker, I was just like, the artwork, the way they drew this in the beginning was so weird at first for me that I didn't quite understand what I was looking at because it would be blurry sometimes. And
yeah, I thought I was at a 3D showing. That was a mistake.
It does have that feeling. No, it does have that feeling. And then
no, because there's just everything blurs kind of like it should be in 3D. So
no, I can see. Yeah, I can see what you guys mean. It's funny that you guys mentioned that because I was like, I could see that. If you're not expecting,
sure. And that I didn't click. It didn't click for me until Miles got his powers, and then they had the pop-ups coming up suddenly, and I'm like, oh, I got this. This is comic book style. I get it now.
I saw the little
focusing your attention in certain areas.
I saw the little pixel pointillism that they did for the comic style too. But I almost feel like the blur is a different thing. It was just their style. I wasn't.
It was more to say this is.
It was. I wasn't super in love with that, or the slower, choppier animation, which they changed sometimes depending on what they were doing. But
so this movie was shot
right.
Half speed apparently. Then
really?
Normally, most movies are 24 frames a second. They filmed this 12 frames.
No, yeah, you could tell it was choppier because they wanted it, I guess, to sort of elicit a comic booky page turning type of speed.
Sony is patenting this technology that they've developed for this animation.
Oh, really? It's interesting. It kind of makes it almost like an old claymation kind of thing.
It gives you a little bit of that claymation vibe to it.
Yeah, that's what I got from it. And
I have to say, I absolutely loved the animation, and it had a kind of a shell shaded look, and they had the very comic book drawn aspect to it, where the shading was the lines instead of just full shading. It was very artistically, it looks like hand drawn almost. Even though it's computer animated, it wasn't perfect. I like that. It's there's flaws to it and the choppiness. I like all the flaws that made it seem much more of a comic book come to life for me than The Incredibles would be.
Right, exactly. Because that's the thing is, you can imagine a Spider-Man animated CGI movie where everything's Pixar
even had that
quality.
MTV Spider-Man, right. Full 3D crap.
Yeah, right. We're just we had that. We could do that. Whatever. Let's go for style here.
Sure. Yeah. And they did an amazing job. And I will say that I actually liked the differences, the way that they did the characters, the different Spider-Man people. You had that art style for that character, literally pulling them out of universes.
Right.
With
Each universe had its own,
yeah, and I love that. I mean, the anime girl, the black and white,
Noir Spider-Man,
the Noir Spider-Man, and
Spider
Ham, yeah. All of that stuff was just it was amazing to actually see that intertwined into this universe, which was its own art style, and it's just like it was crazy. It was like when the movie first started, and you have Miles getting used to his new school and running into Gwen Stacy at that point, which you just knew that I was like, that's like she looks just like her, and I'm like, I didn't know that was the twist coming up later, but I was like, I thought that was like the Gwen Stacy character. I'm like, oh, cool. I had no idea that she was actually from another universe as Spider-Gwen. But you see that, and I just like his character. Actually, I don't really know much about Miles before this movie. Like, I didn't read his comic book stories, so this for me was my first Miles experience. I really. Besides the video,
it honestly would have spoiled a little something, because if in Ultimate, like, he becomes Spider-Man because Peter Parker dies.
I didn't get that far in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe when I was reading it.
I didn't either. I just heard about it.
I just heard about it, but it's not like I imagined, because I'm pretty sure they had said, like, oh, we're trying to do a new type of Miles for, again, like a new audience. I like that generation.
They made it their own Miles.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, and that's their own universe for this, and I like that. And I'd seen Peter Parker with blonde hair when they pulled the mask off. I was like, what is this? And then I realized
what's hilarious is like that's Chris Pine doing the voice.
Yeah.
And he does all the singing too, by the way, for the holidays.
Yeah. I have the holiday soundtrack on my phone. So.
But apparently for the trailers, because they showed his scenes in the trailers, they had Jake Johnson dub his lines so that you wouldn't give it away that was a different Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, interesting.
But because like when I was listening to it, I was like, wait, it sounds different. Like
I'm like, well, because for me, I went with Ashley, who's a big Jake Johnson fan, so that was a big selling point. I'm like, that's not him, I don't think. Early on, it's like, what's up with that? But then I'm like, oh,
and then all that stuff happens. You're like, oh,
yeah. I think I was like, I'm sorry, I just like thinking about characters. I think the best way to do our spoiler cast is when we dissect like the actual characters, and I'm just like, there's a lot of Spider people to talk about here, so it's interesting. But I thought that like the only one that I thought was jarring, and because I'm thinking about this one, I'm thinking about blonde Peter Parker is Kingpin. I thought the only character that
I don't know what they were going for with that style.
Apparently they were harkening back to like a Daredevil series. I forget what it's called right now, but like he's depicted like that, where it's just like he's a very large dude and his head is like in the middle, so it's just like it makes him look like a hunchback almost or something like that. But I hated that. That was like the most offensive part to me. I just could not grasp it. And I was telling Corey, like, I think had we not just come from seeing an amazing depiction,
great Daredevil with and also a totally different way of speaking.
Right. Sure.
Right. Yeah. That was the other thing. So. It wasn't only just like his appearance, but also the voice. But like we just came off of Daredevil's Kingpin, and we just came off the amazing Marvel Spider-Man Kingpin as well. Which I mean, he wasn't as prominent, but I had no problems with that Kingpin. We're just like, this one just stick out like a sore thumb. Just like, what?
Now I don't have like huge issues with this other thing I'm gonna bring up, but he looked like a character that was taken out of the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles from like the one that just ended. He literally looked like one of those types of characters. I'm like, what's going on here?
My issue, and this it's a cartoon. I know this. It's kind of at this point I knew it was a comic book based like it was all comic book, but like there was a sequence where you see Kingpin take a SUV, it's like a Suburban, to the lab. And I'm like, he can't fit in that. He's bigger than the SUV because you can see the ratio. It's just like he can't fit.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. I was stuck on that. I was stuck on that in the first part of that whole beginning there.
And I think it was Liev Schreiber actually who did his voice. But he put on like this like super New York accent for this, and I mean I don't know if that's maybe it's just with how Daredevil has taught me, but I'm just like I don't know if Daredevil. I mean, if Kingpin needs to be like a henchman sounding guy, which is how he sounds.
Tony was, I think you mentioned it to me first, Tony, like, it's like you like the cultured sound of like the Daredevil Kingpin, where this one, he just sounds like you're saying, kind of like a guy.
Like Thomas, right, exactly.
The guys he commands, he sounds.
Right. But then, even if you go back to when like we were like teenagers, You look at the Fox Spider-Man cartoon. Kingpin sounded, kind of like that too, where he's like sophisticated, not like
So it was jarring. It was definitely different. Let's working through the movie here. Let's go through the story a little bit while we talk about these characters because they get introduced differently. So we have Miles obviously at school, then he goes and he meets his uncle Aaron. This is his origin story here.
I keep forgetting his name, even though he says it all the time. Yeah.
So we get Miles's origin story. Now I don't really know Miles's origin story, so I don't know if this is the accurate or is this their own.
It's very accurate.
It is very accurate.
It's not exactly, but it's the same
so he gets graffiti. Are there in the sewers with graffiti? Okay, and then some radioactive number 42. Is that they were really? I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means in this.
It's 42. It's 42nd
Guide to the Galaxy.
So how was he?
In the comics, I think it was like a 40-second attempt at Norman Osborn to try to recreate the spider.
Okay, we get. I mean, that's pretty Norman Osborn at this next part, but that's why the spider was there, right? Because Norman Osborn was fighting there. Or something,
that giant green thing is the ultimate Green Goblin. So that was
bigger.
He's bigger than that. I know that for a fact. I looked it up because I was like, I don't ever remember seeing Green Goblin that big.
He's like their own Hulk size in the Ultimate Comics, but not like a.
This is their own Green Goblin, without a doubt. Yeah, they made him like this, just like they did the Kingpin.
And he's kind of invincible in Ultimates. Not so much here.
So we get Miles getting the powers and. Not able. He goes back to.
What I liked a lot about that scene too is like you're like this big moment is happening, and it's like flicks it off.
I thought that was good. And then we have like
the whole Great Expectations though thing. That was
no expectation.
We have that whole particle accelerator sequence with Fisk and Spider-Man, who's I think it's very very cocky Spider-Man. I've got myself out of worse situations. I'll be fine. I always get up. He always said, "I always get up."
I like that theme though.
I don't know if he was super cocky.
He was tired of. He was more of a tired Spider-Man. They've been doing this for a while. It's always been by himself.
Not the first one. The first one was only 26.
I thought he was tired.
He was in his prime. That one. He was just like
he was just 26 or something like that. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get the vibe of
in 91, which was like, oh man.
I got like a pride thing from him. Like, oh, I always do this.
I think he was just trying to be like the very stereotypical superhero, sort of like, and that's like what he was.
Innocent bystander at ease, like
Yeah, and also I think he kind of knew he was in trouble at the end, but he didn't want to worry him.
Well, I knew that. Well, he said the fact that I am breathing this way or coughing, and I knew he's like, this is a problem. But
not a good sign.
Yeah, not a good sign. But I always get up. He was so. We had that his surprising death, obviously at that point. So that was cool. Activating the particle accelerator, we knew that was going to be kind of a
trigger.
I have to say the sequence right after he died, because like the thing is like at first, at least for me, at first I wasn't sure if he had died. They did the off screen, like you hear the boom. You're just like,
it was definitely keeping that PG rating. They had to like make
right,
kind of confusing.
Right. But it's just like, all right, did he just knock him out or whatever? And then it shows Miles running back to his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing about that, because the Kingpin does something similar later, and it cuts away again. You're like, did something happen again? Like,
right?
Yeah.
But I liked it because it left us in a similar situation to Miles, where even he didn't know until it came on the news that like, oh, we found the body of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. It's just like, oh shit, and like
I did have an issue later in this, but we'll get to that in a second.
You might be mentioning what I just did.
But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where like I don't know. I know we joke about like characters dying all the time, but in terms of Spider-Man, I don't think he dies that often compared to the other superheroes. So like when they're like, oh,
well,
I don't know about that. He's died a lot.
He died.
There's a whole Clone Wars thing where he dies all the time.
No. Okay, well, hold on. Clone Wars, fuck that shit. I don't accept that in my Spider-Man at all. Like the continuity, like fuck that. Whatever. But in terms of like, oh, it's like, it wasn't like a big selling point of his character at any point, like, Death of Superman or whatever. But so Spider-Man, I was like, oh shit, like that's crazy. Like, okay, I guess we're just gonna see Spider-Man die here, and then just
he has to open the door for Miles.
Yeah, because he did in the Ultimate.
There can be only one, right?
Yeah,
but the thing is, and then the memorial happens, and I know that we heard somewhere that they were thinking of getting Tobey Maguire to do like Jake Johnson's part or something. Or I don't know if that was a rumor or not, but I think they talked about it. But the woman who they got to do like Mary Jane sounded a lot like Kirsten Dunst. It sounded like she was doing like an impression.
I think it's Zoe Kravitz.
Did you like their quick brush through the other Spider-Man movies in the beginning of the movie for the just stopping the story talk right now? But they had the whole like the spider guns, and then the upside down kiss, and they had the train.
Yeah, his whole like
I thought that was interesting.
It was fun.
Yeah. But anyway, so we have the death of Spider-Man. We have Miles going to the grave, essentially, being inspired by.
Whoa, hold on. We're skipping over the cameo here.
Yeah.
By
Stan Lee.
the Stan Lee cameo. The cameo. Yeah, where he goes to buy the Spider-Man suit. Yes. Wow. Yeah. So. Yeah. You know what's funny is not funny. I'm sorry. You know what's sad is like it basically is like so impactful every time he does a cameo. Now it's like
Yeah, it is. But this one was so impactful. I don't know.
It was.
But here's the thing: when I went to see this movie, I was like, it was one of those things where like I had gotten the day off early, and I was like, you know what? I just signed up for A-list. I'm like, I'm gonna go see this. I don't care. It's the middle of the day. I have nobody. I convinced nobody to go with me. I was like, fuck, I'm just gonna see the movie by myself. So I went and saw like an early matinee. There was like 5 of the people in the theater. So like everybody had their own row to themselves essentially, except for like the group of like 2 or 3 people. So I'm just sitting there, and like when it comes on. And you're like, you see Miles trying to buy the Spider-Man Halloween costume, and he goes up to Stan Lee. I was like, oh, Stan Lee's cameo. And he's, Miles goes, and he's like, we were friends, I think he said like, he's my favorite or something like that. I forget. And then Miles goes, can I return it? If it doesn't fit. And Stan Lee goes, it always fits eventually. And he just does that smile. I'll admit, I just like started like tearing up in the theater. I was just like, and like Stan Lee, he mentioned like, oh, I'm really gonna miss. I'm like, Stan, we miss you, man. Like,
no, it's like it's on different levels that cameo there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. For us, it was actually people like groaned actually when they saw him.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, oh.
Okay. That's okay.
I thought you meant like the groan.
Yeah.
No, it was more like, oh man.
Okay, not the dang, why do we have to see this shit again? Not
this guy again.
So, yeah. Anyways, so we have the
so at the grave
introduction of Spider-Man.
616 Spider-Man.
Peter, yes, our Spider-Man. And
I think it's 616, right?
Yeah,
I should probably fact check that.
So that's a fun sequence, I think, with him being basically dragged across the city.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what was happening there either, but I didn't realize that Miles has electric powers.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know that. That was shocking to me.
And invisibility.
What's that?
And invisibility.
And invisibility, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
So we have that sequence, and then we have
joke is like some kid in a Spider-Man costume dragging a homeless dead guy's corpse or something.
Yeah, we realize that Miles obviously has brought the Spider-Man from that universe to this universe, and and then you have a little bit of the
Peter is like the original.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's DNA that kind of brought them here.
Yeah, right. Yes, it is. Yeah, so because he was the one that got into the accelerator.
Right, he got.
So yeah, otherwise Miles would have brought, I thought, his own Miles people to him. I think that's how the accelerator worked. You bring the DNA in, and it draws the ones near you. So you get the unique abilities shown by Miles during the sequence. You get them interacting, and it's a fun sequence, I think, with the burger. At the diner, I just thought that was hilarious with him eating the burger. This burger's
and
so
Jake
good.
Johnson did a great job voicing
I thought he actually fit pretty well. And for me, like this is like maybe my favorite part is just everything with old Peter Parker and like because we've never seen Peter Parker really like at 40 or whatever. And like how he would be if things kept going. South. I guess kind of. Yeah. It's not even south. Like it kept.
He just
going.
never grew up and like succeeded in life. He just was always that poor guy.
It's interesting, right? It's interesting that you mentioned that, but I had read this interesting. I forget if it's an article or something where somebody had said like the beauty of old Parker there is that in a way he's kind of like the high school jock or whoever that peaks in high school. And then has to come to grips with reality. Like afterwards, like his life just got boring and like never lived up to like his glory days.
That's a good way to look
at it. Holy shit, that is a great way to look at it. They're just like, you know, like when he was a kid and a young adult, like, you know, the world, like New York City was his oyster. Now that he's like older, just like, what do I even live for? Like, you're taking showers in your costume, you know, hunched over.
I didn't even really take it that far with him. I just felt like he was doing the same thing for 20 years, and then he was just depressed because he couldn't be with MJ.
Well, I think it was more. I think just the way things went for him, he got
nothing else, like other than the fact that that's what he mentioned though, that they grew apart because like she mentioned kids and he freaked out, and then like he's just not with her, and then he's like, all right, I'll go and eat pizza alone now forever.
Yeah. So we get I think my favorite sequence may have been the next one. I don't know. Yeah, I think this was my favorite sequence in the movie, was the laboratory scene. I really liked it with the introduction of Spider-Gwen. But the twist,
also Doc Ock.
Yeah, that was the twist for me.
That was awesome. I was not expecting that at all.
I thought that was really cool. Like the whole sequence with Peter Parker and Miles getting in there, and that was just hilarious. The humor was great.
He's going to tell him 24 hours. You have 24 hours. Whatever.
Yeah. So
like where it's like time to turn on the old Spider-Man charm or the Peter Parker charm or whatever. It's like, hey, it's like, what the fuck?
What did you say your name was later on? Where she's like Olivia Octavius. He's like, oh, geez. I mean, revealing that she's actually Doc Ock in this universe was awesome. I thought a female Doc Ock. I thought it was such a surprise. It was great, and I think she was a great Doc Ock. So we had that nice sequence there with the chase and Spider-Gwen's introduction and Miles trying to learn how to swing, and
it was taking the whole computer.
Yeah,
the monitor. He's like, we don't need the monitor.
You can leave the monitor. And then they go to the scientist area, and they all have like plasma cans.
Yeah. Or I liked Corey, you had mentioned it too, and like he was with Miles. He's like trying to train him. He's like, yeah, yada yada yada, and then he's gonna say like, 24 here, like it's like he's been through this so many times. It's like nothing excites him anymore. So
so we have that sequence, and then they. We meet Spider-Gwen, who I don't know anything about her character at all.
I mean, there's another. I did too, just by what they showed before though. But what was interesting to me was like shortly afterwards, like Peter has a little bit of a reaction and he said in his universe he had to bury Aunt May by now, and he has to see her, but. Gwen did not give a fuck about seeing older Peter Parker, her friend who died.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that were brushed past with it. I did notice that. I'm forgiven, obviously. It was minor. Like if you really dissect the story, you can be like,
at the same time, though, like Peter Parker was never Spider-Man. Like she doesn't see him as Spider-Man.
Well, she gets the power. So yeah,
I know, but she's still someone like she
looks like Peter Parker.
It's her Aunt Ben. I mean Aunt Ben. Wow, Uncle Ben.
my gripe, my gripe coming up was the Aunt May part with when they show up there at the door and she's like, oh my god, it's Peter, and she's like losing it, and I get that part, but like she already allowed Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, and Penny Parker into the thing, and I'm like, how did she even know who these people were? How do they know to go there anyways to Aunt May? Like each of these characters, if they're not Peter Parker,
because I think they also mentioned during the funeral like that he survived by his aunt or whatever.
Oh, okay. Did they say that in there?
Because Mary Jane came forward and she was very public about it. So
that was my gripe later at Mary Jane.
I totally
just so we know. Just bookmark the Mary Jane things. I have a gripe later on. I don't want to forget it. But
it happened to be at a certain event.
Yes, absolutely. I was just like, really? But all right. So we get the basement sequence with Aunt May. How do we like Aunt May?
I thought she was fun. I actually liked her being like a modern version of.
She was pretty much his Alfred.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that, but
she is pretty much Alfred. Yeah,
I liked her just being in the know and not like, oh, I'm just I'm
like
frail and old and I can't do anything.
Right. I mean, Spider-Man 2 Aunt May is not like the Raimi Aunt May. You can't have that anymore. Even Ultimates didn't have Spider-Man Ultimate Spider-Man stuff didn't have that Aunt May anymore.
Yeah. So I think this was cool. We had the group in the Spider Cave,
and nice little Easter eggs in there.
There were nice, all the suits from the game that we all played, and there was some cool stuff with that. They try to get him to use his powers, which he can't do. and then he quickly runs away. And this next sequence was cool with the Prowler, with going to his uncle's house and revealing.
I have to say, Prowler was my favorite. Like, just whenever he came on screen, the music hit. Like
agreed.
The fact that he just looked really cool and intimidating. Like, I just really love that character's design in this, and the way that they presented him and everything.
It was cool because I didn't know about the Prowler character before this.
Yeah,
but they dropped some hints about his uncle with his dad, and like not proving him and all that stuff. So I was like, all right, what's
and he was out of town. It's just right.
He's out of town, and it's like as soon as he comes back, and you're just like, that's when I was like, oh no, it's like his uncle's a bad man.
No, I mean, like when I think when he's in his room, right before the Prowler shows up or something, he's just like, oh, where's Uncle Arthur? I wish he was here. And then the Prowler shows up. I'm like, oh, it's him.
Yeah.
Aaron, whatever, Arthur, Aaron.
So we have that reveal, and then a quick run back to Aunt May's house for the next big fight sequence.
Oh, by the way, the voice actor for the Uncle Aaron or the Prowler is the guy who was Cottonmouth in Netflix.
I thought I really liked his character, and this next sequence I thought was awesome as well. The next sequence at Aunt May's house was awesome as well, with the arrival of pretty much like the Sinister Six sort of thing, where we get Scorpion, Tombstone. Fisk is there. Yeah, I mean, everybody's there, and there's a big brawl, and you have like Aunt May's yelling at them, "Take it outside! Can we please take this outside?" I thought it was a really cool sequence with Spider-Man, like that many Spider-Men and women against the Sinister Six, and I thought it was, I thought it was really cool. But I like the lab sequence, my favorite still. Anything during this you wanted to discuss? Or
the only thing that it's a minor quip for me, or quirk, or whatever you want to call it, so the moment where Prowler has Miles, and he's going to finish him because you're Kingpin telling Prowler to finish him off, and then he pulls back the mask to show off Miles, and he doesn't. I like that, how they didn't go like, oh, he's just 100% bad guy, like he's going to kill his own nephew and stuff like that.
I thought he was going to at first, but I was like,
he hesitated. But like the fact that Kingpin was just like just shot Prowler, I'm just like, really, like. That
I thought was a little bit.
Exactly. I'm not saying like Kingpin wouldn't do that to one of his henchmen, but like so quick like that, we're just like, he's not even gonna ask questions like.
Well, he failed him a bunch of times already. Also.
Well, can you say that? Because I
thought Prowler was like his best guy.
It seemed like it.
Because but he kept saying he failed him a few times on screen already. So
yeah. Tony, you
didn't get the kid the first time.
Yeah,
there goes. You're back. It's
like the first when they see the kid when they kill Parker the first time, he doesn't get him. Then he spots him again and doesn't get him the second time.
Yeah,
and then this is the third time that he's just like, oh well, I got him, but I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, it's a minor thing for me, but I'm just like, really, like if you just did
I did
like,
feel like that was quick initially, but as I was thinking about it, like he does like kind of screw up a bunch.
I think part of also the quickness again was they're trying to keep that PG rating, so like it was pretty confusing actually, like where that came from until you saw it like afterwards.
Yeah,
because they can't show certain things.
Yeah. So what do we think about the father-uncle tandem, the dynamic there with putting on an APB on Spider-Man, and then the Miles talk, which we'll get to in a second, but like his father character essentially. What do we think of the father character?
He was cool. I'm confused exactly why he doesn't have his last name.
Interesting that you mentioned that. So this is more of a comics issue, but the reason why Miles has his mother's last name is because him and his brother were both criminals when they were younger, and he doesn't want that baggage to follow his son around, and that's why he took his mother's last name.
There's a whole like one of the comics actually is a whole.
And I mean, he does
technically his dad was like undercover though, right? Wasn't he?
Oh, I don't know that much detail.
I know in this movie, his uncle did say your dad used to do this stuff with me when we were younger.
Yeah. So I mean, that was good.
I think I forget, was it the Ultimate Comics or? I know that I remember in the comics at some point, like there's flashbacks with him and Fury had recruited him to be in like go undercover, and so he was known as a bad person, but his name is like bad, but technically he's still a good guy.
Yeah.
And honestly, what's funny about as far as expectations because of the Spider-Man game. I was very worried for his father the whole time as well.
Yeah, well, that doesn't happen in the comic. I know. I heard about that. His father is a major character in the comic. So, but yeah, I actually didn't know because this is their own universe. So I didn't know.
Well, they couldn't kill Parker in the Spider-Man game, so they had to kill his dad.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have basically we're getting to the last sequence here. So we have his dorm run in there where they tie him up in the chair because he can't master his powers. They're trying to protect him.
Yeah, I actually really like that though. How Old Man Parker is like, look, if you can't even get past me, like, then what's the point, Yeah.
Which is true. Which is he knows what he is.
I didn't get that feeling at all. It was just like he knew what. Like, here's the thing. I think you guys are like overstating that he's supposed to like suck at everything. Like, he's just old, and like at this point he was embracing the whole like teaching role, and I think he wanted to test him, and I think they also all sort of expected him to find his way there.
Well, he was still trying to get that out of him at that point. Even he was trying.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying. Like that was a last-ditch effort for him to try to like awaken or activate whatever his powers, and what he couldn't.
He wanted him by his side.
He wanted him. He was the only one that
I know that, but like
no. I mean, even Parker said it himself. I don't think we're understating him. It's like he's not peak Parker. He's not at his peak. Like he's old man, like past his prime. Like he struggles with everything, literally, like everything. I don't think that's like.
It didn't seem like he struggled much of anything, really. Once he actually wanted to do something.
Yeah, I don't.
I think it's more desire for him than like ability.
He seems very. He seemed very. Always seemed very goofy, like clumsy. That's what I got the vibe from his character, Mike. You didn't get that in this at all. I got that.
Only when he wasn't trying to do something or he was unconscious.
Yeah, well, maybe. But I don't know. So he's the one that says he's going to sacrifice himself. And we have Miles then, I guess, montaging himself to get a little bit of a, awakening of his powers from his dad's speech, I guess, really, right?
Yeah. Well, it just, one of the things that we never got from Peter Parker in most incarnations is that, he had that father figure in Uncle Ben, but, it's a very traditional, old-fashioned where it's like, I believe in your son, like this whole thing, just like...
And they were always grandfatherly, not...
Right. It's always grandfatherly, not fatherly. So, like, you don't have that relationship. So, for Miles' character to explore that, like, father relationship, I hope most of you guys could relate to that, where it's like, your father's your father, but like sometimes you guys just, you can't see eye to eye for whatever reason, where like there's some conflict, there's some tension there, rather like, this dude that's old enough to be your grandpa that, just helps you out whenever you need it. And like, just gives you vague, like, motivational advice where it's like, okay, thanks, Uncle Ben. Like, cool. Like how am I supposed to stop Flash, from beating me up or, whatever it is. It's like, okay, where, that to me felt more real. And especially even not from like a superhero perspective, just for like a dad trying to connect to his son that can't help him with every aspect of his life, where you could see that, as a cop, as whatever, like he was trying to be very, protective or overbearing or, whatever you want. So I thought that was a very real relationship to David.
So
absolutely.
We get to the next sequence is the sequence that I had.
My favorite sequence with him donning the suit.
Yeah, we get that sequence with him donning the suit, but we also have them infiltrating Fisk's party, which was a lot easier than they expected. Well, I did want to mention that Mary Jane Watson was at the party celebrating with Fisk, which I thought was
celebrating. I don't know about celebrating.
She was there, like clearly, like they're celebrating. She looked like she was enjoying herself.
Well, she might not know.
She knows.
Yeah, no, she has to have known.
But I thought that was just like her. I didn't get a vibe that she was there doing something devious or, like. No, I feel like she was there celebrating.
She was there because people don't know who Kingpin is.
Right.
And so
I think it was one of those that were like had to do that to save face or whatever.
Right.
Kingpin.
That's why I looked at it.
Fisk was trying to be like, oh, well, I'm going to throw an honorary celebration of Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and of course I'm going to invite his widow.
Right. Who outed herself.
Right. And it would look super bad on her if it's like, no, I'm not going to go to that because, my husband arrested or, whatever, mingled with his affairs. I get your criticism, Jim.
Yeah, that was my gripe. I just didn't feel like it was.
I do agree that really, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, and you can definitely look at it however you want. It could be both ways, but it was really there just so that old Parker could see Mary Jane again.
Yeah,
I mean, that was really the only reason I could, and so then he could kind of be like, well, shit, like I'm gonna screw this up or do something to.
Well, he's like, I gotta do this, but I gotta get.
I just kind of had wished there was more of a payoff of that immediately, like.
Deserve all the bread in the world.
Not even the bread, but just like it was funny, but at the same time, it's just like give him something or give her something where it's like, you know, you're not alone, or like, you know, you're not, you know, nobody's gonna get away with it, that kind of, you know, thing. It was certain
yeah. But so we have the last sequence now. We have Miles with his suit, his actual suit, which is pretty cool. And you get to see him.
I love the fact that they set up this character as like a spray painting artist who tags everything, and like I love the fact they set up at the beginning of the movie, because this is not his costume in the comics. The costume in the comics is much more straightforward, like sharp and, you know, not messy or
clean.
Spray painted. I love that he spray paints the costume to make it his Spider-Man costume, to be the black one, and just everything about this sequence, which we saw in the trailers, we knew it was coming, and still, like, it just hit me like this is probably the best I've moment, any montage of like a superhero donning his costume I've ever seen.
It was great. It was fantastic, that moment, and
by far, and the music, everything, just like
the music was great. The music in this whole movie was great.
I love the hell. It's just a leap of faith, and you see like the words going down, like as he's going.
So we get the last fight sequence of the movie with which I thought was very chaotic. I don't know, it's very chaotic.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of was supposed to be, I guess, because worlds are literally colliding behind them. But it was a bit much to like actually take in.
Yeah, it was a lot. But we had, you know, each of them trying to show off their abilities more. You get Spider-Ham, you know, doing with a hammer, right? The cartoon hammer.
That's all, folks. Can you say that?
Yeah, I don't think I love that. You have the robot getting destroyed, sadly, and then you have Noir doing his stealth thing. I forget what he did. It's been a little while. So
he like tripped someone, and I don't know. They all did kind of
one major thing.
I mean, it was mostly honestly like Peter Parker, Miles, and Spider-Gwen.
Those were the big three during this. Yeah. So we get to see them in action. Spider-Gwen and Miles actually using his abilities, and I thought that was awesome sequences with him. Doc Ock was there, and
in the end, really, it was because everyone else was glitching that Miles needed to save the day.
Well, he knew that through the whole time. I mean, that was been hinted at the whole thing. So, you know, loading the drive up and setting them back. During the sequence, though, like, I'm trying to think of, like, the Doc Ock part was fine, but, like, the sequence after that was done with Kingpin there. I'm trying to remember that a little bit, actually.
It felt really weird because it harkened back to when Kingpin lost Vanessa and his son.
Yes,
where he was about to kill like that Spider-Man, but she walked in on them, and it was like, oh, here's that situation again, and him freaking out. And I was just like, I get it, but I don't know. To me, like, I appreciate Kingpin as a villain, but to me, he's more of like an untouchable type of villain.
Yes.
Like, you know, he controls so many aspects, like how we see in Daredevil. It's like, even if you take him down, even if you lock him up, he still controls so much because he has his hands in everything that it's like almost impossible to really stop him. Whereas this, it felt like he was truly like a super villain and could go toe to toe with Spider-Man. And I know Miles is inexperienced, but still, I'm just like, you have the powers of
throwing
spiders, right? Exactly. It's just like it felt really weird and strange. I mean, I didn't want to understand like that aspect.
Yeah, it almost, if it wasn't for that scene where Miles like punched that rock, you wouldn't think he had super strength in this movie.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I think that was in there for that reason. But that's why I'm like, the last fight for me wasn't like the best fight sequence because I thought it was chaotic.
Well, again, anything that like focuses on this weird shaped Kingpin's physicality sort of turned me off a little bit.
So, but you know, we have his dad showing up. That obviously he was the big trigger for this.
And I thought he was going to die again when he showed up.
Yeah, I was like,
he's. I thought maybe he's going to get sucked in, like to the afterwards. So we have him saving the day. We have, let's see, the goodbyes part with Spider-Gwen, which I thought was a great sequence with them. Despite being from two different worlds, there, there's obviously a love interest there for them, and wondering how that was going to continue, anyways. And then the goodbye to his actual mentor, teacher, who at the beginning you think about how bad he was with the burger and fries, and then now he's like taught him and like proud of him, proud student, and basically he saves.
It's like, wait, do I want kids?
Yeah. He basically saves Peter Parker, Miles does, right there, giving him like the purpose when he goes back to his world to fix his things and pick himself back up. And that's what the lesson he learned from this, and I thought that was great for him. So I like I said, I liked that quite a bit. I thought that it was a bit chaotic last sequence, but it was also because of the story with that particle accelerator makes it chaotic, and that's why it just. But it was good. It was very good. What else do you want to cover? We have the post credits, obviously, but anything before that?
Well, the mid credits were.
Mid credits were $20.99.
Yeah,
right?
No, that was the end.
No, that was the very end.
Oh, that was very end.
The
mid credits was
Spider 65.
Stan Lee's other mid credits. I think there was a Stan Lee other tribute with his glasses or something.
No, there was just a thank you.
What was a quote to him, and was it Jack Kirby or?
Yeah, and it was Kirby. I thought it was Kirby as well.
It might have been somebody else. I know it was Stan Lee and somebody else, but no, I mean the only thing
is the other co-creator.
The other co-creator.
Who gets no credit anywhere?
Yeah, isn't it? I think it. I don't know. There was a bunch of names and all the like phones, like Bendis, Ditko, all the names of the people.
Oh, one thing real quick I want to talk about is I loved how like they just totally played off like an alternate reality where when I think it was Spider-Gwen gets into New York and you see
they all do their like
they all do the things. But in Times Square, you could, if you pay attention to like the signs where like advertisements are, the billboards and stuff, like they're advertising like EA Sports, like water polo 19 or something like that. We're just like they just take like things that exist and like just twist them to be like, this could theoretically be a thing. It's just like, okay.
So so we had the post credit sequence with Spider-Man 2099.
That's probably the most hilarious post.
That was amazing.
I don't think you can top that.
Who was the voice
voicing Spider-Man 99?
It's the guy from Star Wars.
It was
Poe.
It was Poe. Yeah. So what's his name?
Who was the guy?
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar.
Yeah.
But who voiced 67 Spider-Man there? That's what I want to know.
That had to be Chris Pine. I'm thinking.
You think it was him again? It could have been.
He did it because he did it in the songs. Like he was singing the songs, wasn't he? And like he did it. He did that voice in the CD, the soundtrack. So I'm guessing it's Chris Pine, but I don't really know. But it was like spot on impression, and
it was pretty funny.
It was really good, and that whole sequence was just hilarious with them pointing at each other, like just oh my god, that was great. But it does tease the fact that now there's interdimensional travel that's going to happen, and we have.
I think was it mid credits or before credits? I don't remember, but Gwen does talk to Miles like again.
Does really?
You hear?
She does find a way to contact Miles across dimensions. I forgot about that because he was talking to his roommate, and then there's that sequence just before the credits. Where you really realize that. So
just hear her voice say like, "Hey, Miles," or something.
I thought that was just a like in his head kind of thing. I
don't know. I think it's meant to be a little ambiguous, but it'll probably if there is a sequel, mean that she did something.
Yeah. So all right. We dissected this whole story. We've overall, guys. Like I said, this is a fantastic movie. I really loved it.
The music too. Like you got to mention the music.
I did.
I like the music, except for the modern songs they threw in there, which kind of bothered me. But
I liked it all. I thought it was really well. It's a modern story. It's modern.
Yeah,
I know, but
so.
They're bad songs, in my opinion.
I liked them. I liked the art. I liked the story. I thought that some of the sequences could have been a little better, like the ending. But I thought overall this was a fantastic movie. I'm at like a 9.95. It's tough to score. I'm really up there on this. I'm really high on this movie. So what would you give it, Mike? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Corey. I cut you off. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Then go, Mike. What would you give?
Well, I'd give it about an 8. I think. Again, like the main villain, like is Kingpin, and he's all kind of messed up, in my opinion.
Sure.
The way this came out. And again, I
think he's a great villain. The way he was drawn was so jarring.
Yeah, and I wasn't as on board with the the animation. It sort of I went through the whole movie thinking that this was possibly supposed to be a 3D movie because like
you didn't get the style they were going for. Yeah,
I mean, like I get why they were doing it. I didn't get maybe the blurriness I didn't get, but I understood the pixelation, the like pointillism, and even the frame, which it took me getting used to, but I did eventually get used to the slower frames. But I don't know, the blurriness is sort of just it got to me. Like throughout the movie, I'm just like, I don't know, like, is this supposed to be blurry? It's like, oh wait, no, that's crystal clear. I don't get it. So I don't know, but I mean, it was good. It was an 8 for me.
All right, Corey.
Yeah, I'd say probably 9.5 for me.
Yeah,
if
right there.
A number. Like
it's fantastic.
This movie blew. Like I was super high on it for one.
Sure, it's the same here. Yeah, blew
past my expectations of what this was going to be. I love that they did a Spider-Man origin story that we haven't seen before. Like, you're a Spider-Man fan. You're a Spider-Man fan. Like you didn't know half of the stuff that was coming. It's like, it's awesome that they did this, and we get origin stories for Spider-Man all the time. But
I did like that joke in this. I did like that joke in this where they were all giving their origin stories. Okay, here's my story, and run through it all. Yeah,
and I love that. And I love like the animation. To me, was the best animation I've seen in a long time. I love that.
I like that style. I really like
the art style. Like again, the music with the art was really refreshing, and I thought was fresh. It's just like really, really well done, like put together, and just like it's a complete package, start to finish. And the payoffs, I felt like everything paid off really well. Where like I wasn't disappointed in like waiting for something to happen that didn't happen, and just like when he puts on that suit, I was like, this is amazing. It's like that was it. I was like, this could be my favorite movie of the year. At that point, I was thinking,
Tony.
Yeah, no, I'm totally up there with you guys. I think I'm probably a little. I would say my gut right now is like a 9.0 or something like that. Where like like you, Corey, it blew past my expectations. Gave me faith that there are still people that can make wonderful stories out of an established property where it's just reinvigorating and just giving birth to a whole new almost entity in a source where this excites me in terms of and I think Corey, we talked about this. I hope this really succeeds where it pushes Miles Morales into like the spotlight more than the comics version has, because great, like comics I know are popular, but this is the step forward into getting like a Miles Morales like real life Marvel movie or a video game, something like that where it's just like great, we have an alternate to Peter Parker now. We can finally use that. And then my person, I love Spider-Gwen. I've talked about this before on the podcast.
She's a great character.
I love her introduction as well, because that is really going to push her, because she's more of a newer character than Miles is, so she's less established, and hopefully with her upcoming animated movie, again, we see just, that kind of stuff where it's like, they're giving me things that didn't exist. And it's fun. It's awesome. My minor picks of the movie are just like Kingpin and,
some of the stuff. Yeah. Like little nitpicks here and there.
Little nitpicks. It's nothing big. But, I'm just so excited for the next one, because now that they have the feedback, now that they've done it the first time, I can only imagine they will improve upon all these aspects and give back more, because just the places they can go with this are near limitless with all the different universes they could use. And I think I had mentioned before when they did like the original Bendis spiderverse whatever run in the comics, I was reading that because I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. It's just like throw all these Spider-Man into a comic and see what happens. And it's just so much fan service where they get like, they have a Tobey Maguire joke, they have Andrew Garfield joke, they have the like Japanese real life Spider-Man Power Ranger type thing. And it's just like that's really cool, and I hope we see more of that in the sequel.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
That was interesting though, like Spider-Gwen's costume. Apparently, it wasn't supposed to look like that originally, and the art, like they had a specific look they wanted to give her, and the artist never got the memo, and he just created his own.
Oh, wow! I did not hear that. That's cool. I think it was great. I
heard like one of the reasons she's as popular as is because that costume is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean
definitely. So, all right. I think that's going to wrap up the spoiler cast for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We hope you all like the movie as well. Let us know what you think. Podcast@allyandgeek.net is our email. You can write us. Follow us on Twitter as well, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in. More spoiler casts coming up this year. Check that out, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.